And so begins the story of the small shrimp gardener. In the natural universe of life, energy flows, like a tiny inhabitant of the insatiable energy of activity. In the morning, when plants greet the return of the light life with their gaze, opening their forms to energy and beginning their elemental transformations, giving richness to life's expression through elemental oxygen, through photosynthesis. The little shrimp is already diligently taking care of the plants and their young shoots, reaching for their full life form. The little shrimp cleans and removes all damaged and obstructive parts from plants so that the concentration of transformed elements serves life without losing a single moment in its calling. Like an inspector of nature, he checks every leaf, every shoot, every stem, every stone, every grain of sand in search of matter that will serve life again through it. Shrimp are not picky about their diet. They eat everything that is in the initial process or in the very process of decomposition. This applies to protein form of plants, algae, animals, bacteria, fungi. Diet Faux Shrimp in Aquarium. Specialized complete food for shrimps. Alternative complete food for small omnivorous fish. Supplements, bacterial and biofilm supplements. Vitamin mineral supplements for shrimp. Non-primary food supplement. Dried leaves. Oak tree leaf, almond tree leaf, raspberry leaf, not treated with chemicals, pesticides. Does shrimp eat healthy algae? It is likely that if there are no other primary forms of protein, that then survival will take over the role in form of life comes first, and then it will eat algae to survive. If another form of higher-ranking nutritional protein is present, then it will not eat algae. The best solution for these types of imbalances is to give priority to plants and reduce the nutrient part for algae, which will result in the process of beginning the decomposition of algae and being the target of the shrimp plate. Can shrimp be fed complete fish food? Yes, if it is small enough to go everywhere inside the aquarium. Thus, food is available to newly hatched shrimp, and the percentage for the survival of the colony is higher. In what natural environment and water conditions do shrimp like to live? Most importantly, lots of small, dense plants, water moss families, micro-dwarf plants, and fast-growing plants. Algae are plus if you have experience, management, and control, or if they are the dominant environment of the biotope setup. Dwarf plants are refuges and spawning grounds for shrimp, which begins through its mother, who cares for them as they go through their journey of development from eggs on the back under the exoskeleton of the saddle, waiting for the awakening spark of mitosis with the participation of the shrimp father, by passing on informational material through the process of reproduction. As eggs in the form of growth, the mother lowers them under her armored tail and cares for them until they develop to the full form of microcopies of adults of their species. Before hatching, female hides them in small, dense dwarf plants so that they remain protected and concealed. Micro shrimps are immobile after hatching and do not leave the hatching place until they develop the ability to move on their own. Then they become micro-pioneers, researchers of the relationship between life energies in the world of the environment in which they were born. Always sheltered by plants, they gradually grow and expand their calling as guardians of nature's streams. Throughout the cycle of life, they go through repeated reminders of the care for the gentle stages of life, called molting. Molting takes place in the lunar cycle of 28 days. The number of days between molting is influenced by the natural environment, temperature, chemical composition of the water, coexistence of shared living space with other living creatures of the aquarium. During the molting process, shrimp is in its most vulnerable, during which they retreat to the shelter of plants. During the process of molting, in which they discard the old exoskeleton and reveal a new one in which they will continue to grow and live. They will remain hidden in plants and reappear on its own again in its group, actively searching for food when the exoskeleton strengthens enough. Shrimp molt more often when they are young. The exoskeleton serves shrimp as a natural barrier against predators. The new exoskeleton must go through its hardening process, which requires the shrimp to be invisible to predators, just like in the birth days of shrimp. Every molting is a rebirth for a shrimp. Their exoskeleton is composed of chitin, which is widely found in crustaceans, arthropods, invertebrates, of which shrimp are a part. Chitin gives hardness and flexibility to the exoskeleton of the shrimp. It is thin and light armor, allowing the shrimp to move freely in its life adventures. Caution: at temperatures above 86 degrees Fahrenheit, 30 degrees Celsius, chitin begins to lose its hardness and flexibility, which can lead to reduced movement of the shrimp and exposure to dangerous situations, as well as the danger for molting, which can result in the death of the shrimp if they are not properly molted. Water conditions in which shrimp thrive. Slow, moderate, non-direct water flow bouncing off the sides of the aquarium slightly towards the bottom in a circular motion through the aquarium. It is recommended to protect the suction of the filter or the circulation pump with a fine mesh to ensure the survival of the shrimps. The filter media should be a biological medium for bacterial colonization. No other media is needed. Reduced light to moderate light intensity, depending on added plant species and their requirements. Add a gas exchange pump to oxidize water. The water surface skimmer is a no-go with shrimp. Shrimp do not require a substrate. If the plants are epitaphs, then wood and stone are sufficient as the primary anchorage for mosses and similar plants. If the substrate is used due to the needs of the plants, then it is important that the substrate is mature. That is, there is no release of ammonia from the substrate into the water column, which is deadly for shrimps. No sudden changes in water temperature and pH. The water must be prepared and tempered to the temperature of the aquarium habitat before changing. It is important to neutralize or remove chlorine and heavy metals from the water with either activated carbon, zeolite, or an aquarium water conditioner with the effects of neutralizing harmful elements and compounds. Let's describe shrimp by their appearance. Wild-type shrimp have their natural coloration as a shade of brown, with transparency and prominent light line along the back of the shrimp. Captive breed shrimp are white, yellow, orange, red, green, brown, blue, in all shades of their assigned colony names, as well as really varieties. It is important to know that any of these colonies that have been cultivated does not retain the assigned color by itself. In order to maintain the color of the colony, shrimp are separated from the colony that have a more pronounced return to the natural color variant accentuations, in order to maintain the recognizability of the colony for the name it bears. If we keep shrimp without separation, then natural selection occurs and a return to the dominant part of natural coloring as well as transparency occurs. The key role of which is camouflage from predators by blending in with the environment in the natural habitat of twigs, leaves, substrate, stones. Let's look at the differences between females and males. Females are 1/3 to 1/2 larger than males, both in adulthood. Females have a higher saturation and density of pigments throughout the body. Females have wider exoskeleton plates on their tails for carrying and protecting eggs. On the upper body section of the female back, a bright whitish mass under exoskeleton can be seen. These are eggs that are ready for fertilization, popularly called the saddle. When the female is ready for fertilization, she releases a pheromone into the water, which causes the males to frantically search for where the female has hidden. Preferred habitat companions: non-predatory snails, ramshorn snail and other hordes, Autosynclus catfish, micro-rasbora types, and other micro-non-predator fish. Mastering shrimp is mastering the foundations of the natural aquarium community and relationships in the life cycle. That is why it is recommended to start with shrimp when entering aquaristics, because it gives an insight into the schedule and nutrient cycles of the relationship between water, light, gas, nutrients, plants, algae, animals, and bacteria, and does not require enormous habitat sizes, only dedicated learning and commitment to life, which means it is easier to start, and the initial cost is lower by learning through all the connections within the community of water-life relations. Maintenance is less time-consuming. Shrimps are non-aggressive and spend the majority of their time scavenging for food, like tiny flower buds on the treetops and meadows of aquarium plants. True gardeners armed with their claw-like appendages in an insatiable quest for work. Pay attention to the channel and be ready for From Beginner to Master Micro Aquarium for Shrimp, the beginning of the journey and other complementary works necessary for all basic skills and knowledge related to aquarium and aquarium life care.